Jobs numbers, obviously very good. I don't think anyone can say that these were not good jobs numbers today. 4.8 million jobs in June, far more than expected. Unemployment, just a tick over 11%, did go down slightly. The only gray on a very good cloud right now, I think I saw 1.4 million workers did file for first-time unemployment benefits, which was more than expected. But the lion's share of this is very good news. What do you extrapolate from this that is obviously positive, and what challenges do you see coming out of these numbers as well?
This is the great American comeback. This is all because of the spirit of the American people that just cannot be put down. And we've seen, because of the fundamentals going into this pandemic that came from communist China, the fundamentals of pro-growth policies, of low taxes, and getting those onerous regulations out of the way, making it a pro-growth business environment, that foundation is really paying off. And we are seeing a tremendous V-shaped recovery, which is incredible news. And we're going to continue that under President Trump, because he's going to continue bringing back manufacturing jobs. The manufacturing numbers are incredible in this report, with 4 million jobs breaking all expectations once again, with the numbers from May, which were a previous all-time record with 2.5 million jobs. Those numbers were revised upward. There's really no stopping what the American people can do. And it's all because President Trump, he had the policies in place, the prescription there, the Paycheck Protection Program that allowed these small businesses to weather this pandemic and come back out on the other side. There's still more work to do, absolutely. But because of those fundamentals and our economic freedom in this country, we can continue to make tremendous gains and get all of those jobs back, but even more.
You mentioned, no, we have not, I think about a third to 2/3, I think, is the number I saw before the pandemic hit. And I did want to go back to something, because the president has referred to himself oftentimes as the jobs president. So I went back to February before the pandemic hit. And those were the first 35 months of the Trump administration, and they created 6.7 million jobs during that time. During the last 35 months of the Obama administration, they created 7.9 million. That is more than 1 million jobs more than the Trump administration during their first 35 months. So my question is, how do you sell to the American people that this is the jobs president when he'd still created fewer jobs by more than 1 million from his predecessor?
Well, you also have to keep in mind there are 1 million more job openings than unemployed people in this country before the pandemic hit. We were at the closest you can get to full employment in this country. It's incredible. And it took off because of the change in policies that President Trump put in place. We're no longer the highest tax place on earth. We no longer have so many onerous regulations that Obama and Biden put in, where we never had strong growth. We never had, it was anemic recovery. You never had more than 2% year-on-year GDP growth. And that's because they grew the size of government. They grew the size of the food stamp rolls, but they didn't grow the size of the labor force. And you saw throughout the Obama-Biden years, the people that weren't being counted. You had 10 million people leave the labor force under Obama and Biden after 8 years. They had left the labor force without any hope for getting a job. That changed when President Trump came in and gave more power back to the American worker, made America a better place for investment again, and we were growing jobs. Those people coming back in weren't counted as a new job. That was counting as a return job, and we were seeing that in record numbers month after month after month in the Trump-Pence economy. Those forgotten men and women of all races, of all colors, of all creeds were re-entering the labor force. We're going to get back there. We already see this tremendous beating of expectations. The so-called experts have been wrong again and again and again, because President Trump has the confidence and the optimism in this country. He knows this country. He knows how to get people back to work. And that is truly what he did. When you look at just the big number, you're not looking at the bigger story of what happened in the millions of people who are left behind in the Obama-Biden economy because of the high taxes, the anti-energy agenda, and the just onerous government regulations that held so many Americans back.
Okay, a specific re-election question for you. Got an email blast from the RNC touting $131 million raised in June, $266 million for the quarter. Not 10 minutes later, I got an email from the DNC and Biden team. They raised $10 million more in June and $282 million for the quarter. And that, by the way, was the second month in a row that the Biden team beat the Trump team for fundraising. Is that a red flag to you at all?
Absolutely not. If you look at the cash on hand numbers, we have a $295 million cash on hand right now. We have a tremendous edge that the Democrats are just not going to be able to catch up. We have a tremendous ground game, infrastructure operation. We've added 300 field staff recently already to our 1,100 people on the ground in 23 states, that many of which we never left in 2016.
Does it worry you at all?
Joe Biden doesn't have a state director in Pennsylvania.
Does it worry you at all that since the Democrats have coalesced around a candidate, though, they're raising more money than the Republicans?
It's very marginal, and we've seen the power of our grassroots operation with our platform Win Red. We raised over $450 million. We just had a year anniversary. That's more than the Democrats raised in their Act Blue platform in a decade. So we know we have grassroots support on our side. And one day alone for President Trump's birthday, we raised $14 million, which is an all-time record. We're breaking records. We had a 71% increase from the first quarter to the second. We know we have that energy out there, and we really know the energy of people not just voting with their wallets, but signing up to join the campaign. We already have 1.3 million volunteers. It's going to be 2 million by election day, and we're really going to get out the vote and really talk about those contrasts. And when we talk about those economic numbers, all that goes away with the Joe Biden job killing agenda of hiking our taxes, getting rid of energy, getting rid of fracking. Really would put the brakes on this great American comeback and would be devastating to the economy.
President got 8% black support in 2016, but the campaign currently refuses to ban Confederate flags at rallies. The vice president, when pressed repeatedly, would not say the phrase Black Lives Matter. The president said painting Black Lives Matter on his street would be a symbol of hate. He retweeted a video of white supporters of his shouting white power and called them great people. How do you expect to win over minority voters with those positions and that kind of rhetoric?
President Trump believes in law and order, but he believes in equality under the law and equality of opportunity. We will win them over because we already have the record to prove it. President Trump delivered for all Americans, no matter what you look like. You know, Democrats, more and more, we're seeing them, and the liberal institutions in this country are only judging people by the color of their skin and not the content of their character. I think this is wrong, and it's a wrong direction for the country. We want to uplift
the president. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you talked about them judging by people on the color of their skin. The president one time said a judge with Mexican heritage couldn't do his job properly because he had Mexican heritage.
No, it was this association with a far left liberal group that supports open borders.
No, Judge Curiel, he said specifically, Judge Curiel couldn't do his job because
La Raza, it was an open borders organization. This is what's wrong with so much of the media coverage. It takes the president out of context. It paints this narrative that is so not true. President Trump loves this country. He loves all Americans, and he wants to give all Americans an opportunity. Where's your question about Joe Biden? Does he still think that Delaware was a good thing for them to be on the south side of the
I'm not questioning Joe Biden right now.
Is he still proud that he got an award from George Wallace?
I'm not talking to Joe Biden right now. I'm talking to a member from the RNC.
Well, I hope the press does ask any of these questions, because he certainly doesn't come out and answer them very often.
The last question I have prepared for you, the polling industry has a lot of ground to make up for the things that they got wrong in 2016, especially at the state level. I don't think anyone denies that. Things at the state models were off in a lot of ways. Looking at the latest polls right now, however, the federal models were a lot more accurate 4 years ago. And there was a Monmouth, I apologize, poll that just showed the president down to the former VP by 12 points nationally. It was given an A+ rating by 538.com. Again, clearly the state models were off. But given these polls, if you put any credence in them whatsoever, what about the president's message maybe isn't getting through right now that needs to be adjusted before November 3rd?
I think there are a lot of problems with a lot of these polls. They're always oversampling Democrats, and they're not giving an accurate picture of what the electorate is going to look like in November. They were wrong in 2016. They're wrong in 2020. They've never figured out how to find President Trump supporters, which there are a lot of us out there. It's a silent majority, and that majority is growing, especially when you have a Democratic Party that's wanting to tear down Mount Rushmore, that wants to tear down statues of Lincoln and Grant, and has nothing to say to stop that in their Democrat-run cities, when they're defunding the police in New York City, when they're hurting minority communities by this lawlessness and defunding police and allowing criminal activity to just go unpunished. President Trump is going to restore law and order. He's going to restore peace and prosperity by building the economy. We have a winning message. We also have a winning record, and the American people know that. When you look at the choice in November, the choice is very easy and clear. Do we want America to be great? Do we believe America is great? Or do we want to throw it all away to a radical left-wing fringe movement that the Democrat Party has embraced and destroy all the economic progress we've made by hiking our taxes and killing our energy policies and taking over private industries with healthcare? The American people are going to reject that. And we know we have such strong enthusiasm behind President Trump, and that is just non-existent for Joe Biden, who they won't even let outside the basement more than one time a week.
Okay. You have been more than gracious with your time. I always give an opportunity whenever I'm talking to you. If you would like, is there anything you want to bring up that I did not bring up during the interview? Anything burning with you that you wanted to get out there?
Sure. I just want to say that we are so excited about what's happening in this country, the economic numbers that are coming out with President Trump, his leadership. We can show such a clear contrast that we believe in America. We believe in opportunity for all. And we're going to build the greatest economy again because President Trump already did it once before.